Hi everyone. So today I will be talking about my multimodal synthesis project where I will be connecting with ideas that I've learned from everyone in this course. So the two topics that I want to focus on would be meme literacy and corpus literacy. First, we'll be looking at meme literacy. So I think in my own word, memes are for me different cultural information that are passed from one person to another, and then people will use this information to shape the mindset of the social group that they are in. So because of that, the idea about memes would vary from culture to culture, to be exact. So thinking about how different culture would react differently to different kind of memes, and they also have memes that represent their own culture essentially. And then another thing that I want to think about here would be to think about internet memes. So essentially, from what we have learned in class and from what I have gathered, internet memes are a group of digital items that share similar characteristics, which can be built upon each other and can be circulated over the internet by different people. Hence, these memes created a community of their own. So these people, if they were to know these memes, would understand the underlying meaning of it, and also from there be able to replicate and then transform to a certain extent. From there, I want to kind of highlight some of the memes that I see from our class that I really enjoy. So I remember we were doing this activity as a class, and everybody submitted like a few memes that they created or they found really relevant to their life, and then from there posted to a discussion board. And then I think Jill did like a collection of those memes on a Google slide. So I was just kind of picking from those slides a few ones that I really enjoy myself. And if you can see here, they are just very related things that I can see for myself and also people around me would be able to relate to. I also like the very cartoonist style and also very minimalist style of these memes, making it really easy to comprehend and be able to relate to. And of course, I have to feature this one meme that I really like. I think they're just so adorable and just very fun to look at. Make me really want to smile every time I look at it. So the idea that it really creates a community and makes you feel better and kind of just lighten up your day a little bit is really cool. And then we also talk a lot about features of internet memes in our class during that time. So thinking about replicability. So where memes should be easily copied, modified, adapted, and shaped across different platforms. So be able to replicate that idea about a certain meme that you like is important. And then the second thing that we talk about in regard to features would be templatability. Oh my God, I cannot talk today. But yeah, so thinking about how memes should have structures that are recognizable by larger audiences while allowing spaces for new content. So thinking about having a certain template and be able to uh, kind of use that to guide you, and then from there you can add a little bit of what you like, and from there help you to understand the way that you are spreading the memes essentially. And then the last thing on in regard to features would be reappropriation. So mimetic participants can apply existing information from previous meme to new memes, so being able to kind of create that community idea that we mentioned earlier, right? And then bring that all together is important in regard to what are some of the features slash characteristic of internet memes that we want to be able to see and kind of point at one thing and say that, yeah, I know that meme. This one slide I stole from Dr. Lauren Harvey and Dr. Emily Plazzi. And then these are just kind of the connection between meme literacy and then critical literacy, and how they create like this very, very harmonious idea about the ability to engage with and question all parts of the meme reproduction and consumption cycle. So always be thinking about what you are doing, what are some of the things that you are trying to replicate, reproduce within the memes that you're using is very important. So never just kind of use something without any consideration, essentially. And then I want to kind of highlight this one thing that I find really, really important is to be able to think about the possibility of integrating memes into your classroom and to your students, for example. And then from there, think about the ability to engage in different conversations regarding culture around the memes that students participate on a regular basis. Because I remember a lot of the time I have students who come here as international students, and they struggle with understanding the memes society, essentially, of the US, because those things are not popular in their home country, for example. So be able to kind of discuss that and let them kind of talk about it is very important. And then also thinking about how appropriate that would be for even your domestic students, and be able to see whether they appreciate certain type of memes is going to be something that we want to think about. All right, so in transition to that, I also want to talk about corpus linguistics a little bit. I know that I talk about this in our class already, but just kind of making that connection is very important. I think that very much like memes, language are constantly changing, and you think about it in that way, like you see one meme kind of popping up here and there, and then one day a new one kind of popping up, and everybody kind of get accustomed to certain memes. Depending on the period of time. It's very similar to language. However, the way that language ship is a lot slower than memes, essentially. So you wouldn't be able to see like new things, new languages, or new words or vocab popping up like tomorrow when you wake up, essentially. However, you want to think, not like how one thing can be meme-matic the next day. However, the possibility of language change is there, and it has always been there. So, and shifts in language mark trends and transitions and help us to determine how we think and what is important at the time that we are looking at language. So thinking about the past, the way that we talk would be so different from the way that we talk right now. So it's going to mark a certain change in history, in the way that people think, in how you react. All of those things are going to matter when it comes to language change. So you will see new terms emerge, old terms take on new meanings, and then from there you have built a new way of speaking and using language, for example. And because of that, that's why I think we talk about this in class as well. So why do we need corpus linguistics? So corpus linguistic is the study of language as expressed in samples of real world, essentially, and then authentic text in authentic context of use. So that means that with corpus linguistic, you would be able to look at language and how they're used in a real world situation, not just like, oh, in a grammar textbook or in the way that people write certain things. A lot of the time, the ways that you think language are used are not what how language are actually used. And of course, a lot of the time, since you are born with language, you don't really think about that aspect of what is considered reasonable and what is not considered reasonable in your own language. So be able to use corpus is a great tool to be able to see that trends and be able to see what's happening with language at the moment. And then from there, I also want to mention the connections that corpus linguistic make with what we know already. So thinking about how corpus linguistic integrate new literacy, so transferable skills here, right? So needed for effective online research and comprehension, communication, and collaboration. So thinking about how all of these things are connected and be able to use the corpus would be helpful for the understanding of these concepts, essentially. And I think in class we did talk about this by doing a small activity, right? I asked you all to think about your own in your own experience, what would you consider to be well the internet, digital literacy, and global connectedness. So all of these concepts, I want you to think about what would be your experience, your definition, what comes to your mind. And because of that, it really, really kind of helped us to build this mini corpus about our own experience with these concepts and really think about, okay, so are we thinking about the same thing or are they different? What are some of the trends that you see popping up? What would be some of the things that you would like to be able to see? So I think it's great that we have this opportunity to do this and be able to see what other people think about the same concept that was proposed to all of us. And I would like to highlight some of the ideas that I saw from you all. You all put this in the Google Slides that we did for this activity. So thinking about how this activity and corpus linguistic essentially would help us to understand how we use vocabulary in this context. Or to see the differences between prescriptive language and descriptive language, or thinking about social groups, associations with age, the difference within that, and then how we interact with different spaces, and from there we share and connect with others in very different way. And then we also have a lot of time to think about why are some of these things not popping up? Why are some of these things popping up so many times? And from there, it's really see what is consider certain concept, right? Because if I were to give an example for myself, I wouldn't be able to. So, and this is also a connection that we talk about in class, even though we didn't have a lot of time to kind of mention this. So thinking about the connection between corpus literacy, digital literacy, and critical literacy. So all of these things are always coming hand in hand, just like how meme literacy connected to critical literacy, because be able to question the things that you do and be able to kind of take on a more active role towards things that you learn in your daily life is going to be important. So with corpus linguistics, we can take on that active role and research a little bit more, question a little bit more, and use that to validate our information, to analyze the data that we have. And then from there, we can discuss and reflect, and then going on from there, we can definitely comprehend concepts a little bit better. So bringing back to the classroom a little bit here, because since I'm an educator myself, I always think about things that we can use in order to help with the classroom. So since I think I give you a little bit of what I do with corpus linguistic within the writing classroom that I'm teaching, but I also want to just give a brief overview of things that a lot of people have talked about. So thinking about how using this technique can empower learning for your students, letting them also be the active role that they are. They also think about be able to develop digital skills, enhance critical literacy skills, and then just kind of thinking about a lot of way that you can explore and use authentic content for a purpose. And then the students can analyze, discuss, and reflect on data, just like how we did with the mini corpus activity. And this can apply to many, many classroom contexts, and thinking about just the idea about concepts in general, and asking students to be able to kind of dig a little bit deeper in things that we might thought that it's very normal and easier to comprehend, but we can certainly create conversation within that and questions, where does this come from, how does it become popular, and then from there kind of help them to comprehend the concepts a little bit better. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful in terms of understanding where I'm coming from for this multimodal synthesis. I really enjoy all the activities in class and also be able to think about how digital literacy can connect us all into multiple different concepts. And from there, kind of think about ways that different people are engaging with different concepts, and then be able to come together and talk about it as a class. So it has been great. I hope that you all enjoy all the content that we have been learning. And yeah, thank you again.